Today we're going to save more than 600 euros on a chart plotter for our boat because we're going to find out which Android app is the best one to use as an onboard chart plotter. Today we're going to pit Navionics, OpenCPN and Orca software against each other in a truly decisive head-to-head showdown. Don't miss it, because we'll learn how to get the absolute most out of the features inside these apps that let us turn almost any tablet or smartphone into a chart plotter that's actually better than quite a few of the ones the big brands sell us for several hundred euros.
It was about time we saved some money.
We're going to save some real money right here. We'll get our spending all the way down to 0 euros. Greetings sailors, and welcome to a new episode of the Low Cost Sailor. In today's episode we're going to talk about some of the most popular apps in the boating world. The apps that let us have a marine chart plotter right on our phone or tablet, saving us from having to buy one of those very expensive brand name marine chart plotters. Let's take a look, compare, and uncover some of the secrets of 3 of the most popular applications: Navionics, now known as Garmin Boating, OpenCPN, and Orca software. We will compare directly on site their charts, their overall performance across a wide range of different device types, their key features, including some that are very little known, their connectivity with the boat's onboard electronics, and of course the cost of using them as we look for the truly definitive app for navigating with our boats. Marine chart plotters have always been expensive devices, highly specialized boating equipment for a market used to paying outrageous prices for things that often are not worth it, but that have nevertheless completely simplified some of the challenges of navigation today. They allow us to know where we are with an accuracy of just a couple of meters, place us on a chart with indications of everything around us, mark hazards, depths, travel times, nearby boats, and the most modern ones, already connected to the internet, offer real-time weather information and forecasts for the coming days, helping us calculate the optimal routes.
But what truly matters are paper charts.
Certainly those are the mandatory ones. A great many features have been added quickly over the past few years, during which technological progress has advanced by leaps and bounds, and at the same time has made very expensive plotters from major brands obsolete in just a few years. And of course, when we're talking about 700, 800 or even 900 euros for a dedicated chart plotter, you really can't be upgrading every year with closed devices that quickly become obsolete again. But a few years ago, with the ongoing evolution of mobile devices, someone came up with an idea. If there are very affordable and very powerful phones and tablets with GPS full color screens and the ability to run a wide range of apps, why not create an app that offered all the functions of a marine chart plotter, was still affordable, and could evolve quickly? Quickly, along with the technology?
Like for cars, right?
Sure, like what happened with cars. They used to have dedicated GPS units, and now it's done with a phone. That's how the first apps came about, like Navionics and OpenCPN. Apps we're going to look at today, and that can run on practically any Android device. We've confirmed that many times on our channel because we've seen them work on a phone, on a tablet, on a ruggedized tablet, on a Raspberry Pi, on an old computer, on a car radio, and lately even on a motorcycle GPS built to be clearly visible, to work properly, and to withstand all kinds of weather conditions.
Available in our online store. By the way, it's available.
Everything is available through our online store, and if something isn't, there are links down in the description. By using our links and shopping through our store, you help us put bread on our children's table. That got a bit dramatic.
Dramatic enough indeed.
This trend is so important that most, if not all, of today's most advanced chart plotters from the major brands are in fact Android-based devices that run navigation software on top of them. That said, they're typically Android-based devices, but they're locked down, so you can't really just do whatever you want unless you end up discovering that there's navigation software that's even better than theirs, and that it could work just as perfectly well on their very own devices. It all started in Viareggio, Italy in 1984 with Giuseppe Carnevali and Fosco Biancelli. They had a very clear vision: to replace traditional paper charts with electronic display screens. This is how GeoNav was born, the world's first electronic chart plotter.
Giuseppe Carnevali, what was that, like Luigi Spaghetti?
Giuseppe Carnevali and Fosco Biancetti. To support this invention, they established Navionics. In an era when computers were enormous in size, they managed to fit detailed ocean maps into portable devices, ultimately changing navigation forever. For decades, Navionics was the charting provider for major hardware brands like Raymarine or Lawrence. However, with the arrival of smartphones, the company made a decision that would democratize the sea. After a successful debut on the iPhone in 2008, they released their first version for Android in 2010. For the first time, any angler or sailor with a phone in their pocket had access to mapping accuracy that previously cost thousands of euros. Mobile phones quickly became the backup Chartplotter, or even the main one for millions of people. Up until 2013, for under 25 euros, you could buy charting for a region of the world and use it with virtually no limits. Starting in 2014, the model switched over to a subscription-based system that allowed users to receive regular, ongoing chart updates and also added new features such as connecting to depth sounders and providing improved, more detailed bathymetry through sonar chart based on data contributions collected from other Navionics users. And that made their charts by far the best, considering the price. Plus, it was still affordable, and if you didn't want to pay the subscription every year, the only thing you would miss out on was the updates. The maps you had downloaded would remain safely stored on your device. Navionics Web was also available, and it quickly became the go-to reference tool for just about any boater when planning routes. And it was free, the word we like best. But in 2017, Navionics was acquired by Garmin, and that is when things began to change. They started changing some things for the better. The app became more stable and reliable. Connectivity was improved with the option to receive AIS data via Wi-Fi, for example, to display nearby vessels. Automatic route calculations were added, and weather data was incorporated. The downside was that the subscription model was strengthened and basically everything that was free began to disappear. At first, some features were only active with a current subscription, although you could still continue using the maps you had already downloaded. Over time, prices kept rising until they reached between 50 and 70 euros per year for a navigation area, which is what it costs today. Additionally, using the app with an expired subscription became increasingly limited, although for me, the final blow came in July 2024 when they shut down the Navionics Web app, which had helped so many budget-conscious sailors plan their trips and, if I may say so, dream of remote destinations. Garmin, this is very poorly done. In parallel with the story of Navionics around 2008 and founded by Dave Register, the open source software project OpenCPN emerged as a tool capable of running on any computer and allowing any boating enthusiast to read the nautical charts published by official agencies. Thanks to the free software philosophy, it did not take long for a large group of developers to join and begin evolving OpenCPN through a plugin system that greatly expanded its weather file downloads with Grib, the integration of NMEA data, customizable dashboards, AIS, and support for the well-known CM93 charts. A wide range of features were contributed altruistically by developers from all over the world. Starting in 2015, the project continued to evolve very positively. The Android version was released, and in 2017, a complete lineup of official, fully up-to-date nautical charts was professionally developed through the OCharts portal, even though users could still use whatever charts they wanted. New plugins were also integrated, including some capable of overlaying data from major manufacturers' radars, and new data sources were added, such as connection via Signal K, something that may sound familiar if you have seen our episodes about OpenPlotter, a little marvel thanks to the number of people who take part in keeping it alive with countless features, able to run on practically any device, as we have seen in many episodes on the channel, and which continues to be completely free, or almost, as we will see later on. Orca's story is different. While Navionics was born in the era of integrated circuits and OpenCPN in the era of free software, Orca was born in the era of smartphones and the cloud. Orca entered the scene in Norway in February 2021 with a proposal to put an end to slow-close plotters. Its launch was built on 3 independent pillars that could also operate together. The Orca app, the core brain that has been available for Android and iOS right from the very beginning, features a very nimble, thoroughly modern user interface with tightly integrated functions such as instrument displays and route and travel time calculations, and it strongly resembles the overall Google Maps philosophy. It relies quite heavily on internet connectivity, and as long as you are connected, nearly all of its features are free, including charts for the entire world. Some features specific to that cloud-based approach stand out in particular, such as being able to view nearby vessels via AIS without needing to have your own receiver, or the automatic integration of tides and weather, taking them into account when calculating sailing routes, which is something I personally love about the app. The Orca core is really the heart of the boat. More than a year ago, the team at Orca reached out to me and sent me their full lineup of devices. They had only one condition: that I test it, actually use it, and that if at any point I felt like talking about it, I would do so. And that is exactly what I have done, with complete freedom, just like throughout this video we are about to watch. The Orca core shares much of the same philosophy as our Raspberry Pi, a small simple device that aims to become the boat's brain, integrating a high-precision GPS, a 9-axis accelerometer, and connections to the boat's electronics through NMEA 2000. All of this information can be shared with the Orca app either directly over Wi-Fi or, this is a feature I especially like, through the cloud. By connecting the Orca core to Wi-Fi with internet access, you can view all of your vessel's data from anywhere. Essentially, it follows the philosophy of our Raspberry Pi, but with a fully nautical focus. It works really well, it's very reliable, and it isn't overly expensive since it costs around 500 euros. I have it installed in parallel with my Raspberry, and even though I already had all the information available, the core serves as a gateway to integrate everything easily with the Orca app. That said, I do miss two things. First, broader overall compatibility with older electronics, and second, it is not a truly open system, so you cannot really tinker around with it. It does exactly what it is designed to do, and in return it does so in a very simple and truly reliable way. The Orca display. Although the Orca app can work on pretty much any tablet, the company decided to release its own dedicated rugged tablet, the Orca display, which is already on version 2. It is a durable Android tablet that comes with the Orca app already pre-configured, but it also allows you to install and run just about any other app. It is fully open, it can withstand just about anything, and it has two key features that my ruggedized tablets simply do not have. It delivers 1000 nits of brightness, which allows you to see it very clearly even in direct sunlight, and it includes wireless charging, which is especially useful for keeping it charging even in the rain while we continue using it outdoors. It also comes with a wireless charging dock that is specifically designed to be installed outdoors, essentially turning it into a more traditional chart plotter like the ones from Raymarine, but with a large 10-inch touchscreen and the added benefit that you can take it anywhere on the boat and continue using it thanks to its built-in battery and Wi-Fi connection. It's genuinely a marvel, and its only real weak point is the price. We're talking about around 1000 euros for the tablet itself. It is very clearly designed to compete with the high-end chart plotters from the major brands whose 10-inch models from manufacturers like Raymarine or B&G are typically priced somewhere between 1700 and 2500 euros. I'm not going to lie, I love it, it's my main chart plotter, but I'm also not the kind of person who can easily spend 1000 euros on a tablet like this. Well, in the end, it is a chart plotter, and its main function should be to position us on a map, so let us talk about its charts. In the case of OpenCPN, the variety of charts is practically infinite, from the well-known CM93 charts to all kinds of raster charts. At one point, some people even digitized entire areas from Navionics charts and made them available for OpenCPN. However, the charts we will compare today are the official ones from OCharts, which is the official chart provider for OpenCPN. The three chart options all start from a shared foundation based on the information published by the official hydrographic services. OCharts basically takes that information, processes it, consolidates it, and then provides weekly or monthly updates as the official agencies publish them. They are organized by geographic areas. For instance, all of Spain is divided into 3 separate regions: the Atlantic, the Mediterranean, and the Canary Islands. Their licensing system offers a lifetime license for up to 5 devices per license, and it includes updates for 1 full year. The licenses are tied to one specific device, so if you change equipment, you lose that license slot. Orca, for example, is also based on official charts, applying additional post-processing that is aimed at making them more streamlined and visually more appealing. However, if we look closely at the chart objects and the depth contours, the underlying information is still practically the same as what we find in OCharts. And finally, there is Navionics. Navionics has been developing nautical charts for more than 50 years, and although it also relies on official sources, its main difference lies in how it enhances them using its own bathymetry, or rather ours. This makes the level of detail noticeably higher. They offer several display modes, ranging from the basic chart based on official data with bathymetric contour lines every 5 meters, which already provides more detail than the others, to sonar chart mode, where the amount of information increases considerably. This is particularly useful when it it comes to finding a really good anchorage or avoiding running out of water at low tide. In addition, there is Sonar Chart Live, which allows you to keep enriching the map with your own bathymetry as you navigate, something that fortunately can be enabled or disabled because it often ends up generating far too much information, especially when you remain afloat in one particular spot. Regarding the actual accuracy of these charts, I tested it firsthand while sailing here in Santander and checking carefully along the edges of the bay's channel to see whether Navionics was interpolating data or making up the bathymetry as some people claim. The truth is that they all represent the overall depth contour really well, but without any doubt Navionics bathymetry is the one that matches reality the best. In charting, and thanks specifically to the data provided by the users themselves, Navionics wins by a landslide. Performance. Some time ago, the performance differences between them were very noticeable. I especially remember the comparison between Navionics and OpenCPN, where on less powerful phones and tablets, Navionics performed much better and worked almost anywhere. Currently, thanks to the power of most modern devices, the responsiveness of all three apps is very good. Even so, I would say the fastest is Orca, followed by Navionics, and finally OpenCPN, especially when it comes to startup and loading processes, which it handles more slowly. With a current Android device, I do not think you will notice any major performance differences, nor that this will be a truly decisive factor when choosing one over another. When we talk about connectivity, the situation changes quite completely. All the apps are fully ready to receive data over Wi-Fi about what is happening on board and then integrate it into the charts, for example. Integrating AIS data from our receivers is something that all of them support. Orca can even obtain that information directly from the internet without needing to have an AIS receiver at all, although if you have one installed on board, it will generally prefer to use the data from the one you already have on board. All three applications can also integrate information like depth, so you always have it clearly in view while navigating, and Navionics also uses that data in Sonar Chart Live to update the map in real time. That is essentially where its integration ends. Navionics cannot display other additional data collected by the boat's own instruments. Orca, however, integrates them very well through highly visual and very clear instrument dashboards, capable of showing wind information, depth, or any other configurable data, while also occupying whatever portion of the screen you choose. It can even be combined with the boat's own information, such as sailing polar curves and so on. However, it does have a significant weak point. Orca only allows data to be integrated through Orca Core. It's a fairly closed system. If you don't have it, you simply can't view that data. This isn't just a financial issue. If your boat is older and the electronics don't work properly, the Orca Core won't really be a solution either. And that data just won't be able to be displayed. All of these problems disappear with OpenCPN. OpenCPN can connect to virtually any data source over a network through a serial port via USB or from the internet. It is a completely open system, and it has multiple dashboard plugins to display the information exactly the way you want. If we are talking about integration capability, the king of information is OpenCPN. We have already seen the main features of each one, but if we compare them directly, all of them allow chart display, the use of multiple layers on top of them, and the recording of a logbook or a history of your travel route. In all three cases with an internet connection, it is possible to retrieve weather information and display it directly on the map. Both Orca and Navionics also allow you to contribute and share routes, data, and points of interest with the community in a simple way. When we talk about route calculation and planning, both Navionics and Orca can generate automatic routes, estimate time and fuel consumption, and help you follow them in a simple and intuitive way. They also make sure to avoid obstacles and shallow areas based on your boat's information and the available charts. However, OpenCPN basically draws a straight line between the points and does not automatically avoid obstacles or shallow areas. That said, when we talk about offshore navigation, OpenCPN has something very powerful. Using the weather routing plugin, it can generate very optimal routes based on the forecast weather and the historical data for the areas that you will be sailing through. This is especially useful for longer ocean passages. Orca already includes a similar feature built in. You simply indicate that the route will be sailed, and it then bases the route on the present conditions and the upcoming weather forecasts. Throughout the trip, it can generate a highly optimal route, including any necessary tacks in each direction and the best possible point at which to tack. If you also enter your vessel's characteristics, for example wind polars, or help the app calculate them, the result is a very useful and practical tool, especially for coastal routes or for racing applications. Regarding integration with navigation and the autopilot, all three offer options, though with different approaches. Navionics is mainly geared toward Garmin devices. Orca works by using Orca Core, while OpenCPN allows integration by using plugins that are compatible with certain autopilots and with some open source devices. Other features that are also available in Navionics and in OpenCPN include the AIS collision alarm when you are in the harbor. As we have seen, it can be a little bit annoying, but at least it can be turned off if needed. In port areas, obtaining information about a very specific point or an AIS target is always done by pressing and holding your finger down on the screen. However, Navionics offers the most agile and truly complete interface for this particular task. In the other applications, it can sometimes be a bit difficult to obtain really precise information, for example, the exact depth at a very specific point. Finally, OpenCPN has a very large community behind it, along with an almost endless number of plugins that keep expanding and in return add all sorts of additional features. Because it relies on plugins, the integration isn't always as visual or consistent as in Orca, which likely has the edge here thanks to its simple, consistent user experience. And we've probably arrived at the most important point.
For many, I don't know. Certainly for someone I know, for sure.
For me always, the price, because in the end, all of this is precisely about trying to have a powerful plotter without spending a fortune along the way. If we start with OpenCPN, the model here is actually quite different from most of the rest. The Android app comes with a one-time cost of around 10 euros with no subscriptions or any recurring payments at all, and lifetime updates are included. However, OpenCPN needs charts. And although we can search around on the internet or create our own, O-chart charts are the ones we have used in this comparison. The price depends on the area, but we're usually talking about roughly 25 euros per area, with a permanent license that works on multiple devices and includes updates for 1 year. After that, the charts will keep working indefinitely, even if you stop paying for the update service. In Navionics' case, the pricing model is completely different. The app itself can be downloaded for free, but to access the charts and the more advanced features, you generally need an annual subscription for each navigation area. Currently, the cost is usually around 50 to 70 euros per year for each region, depending on the specific area you select. For the Spain region, I'm currently paying 59.99 euros per year, and this lets me use it on 2 devices at the same time. As long as the subscription is active, you receive constant updates, you have chart area, auto-routing, and all the features. However, if you stop paying, you will no longer see the boats with AIS, you will not be able to calculate automatic routes, you will not be able to do anything, and it is uncertain whether the charts will continue to be usable. It is a convenient and very polished model, but it is clearly based on you paying faithfully every year. And finally, we have Orca, which takes an even more modern and up-to-date approach. The app can be used for free as long as the device stays connected to the internet, including worldwide access to basic charting for the entire planet. If you want to be able to download the charts and navigate without an internet connection, the annual plan costs 49 euros and gives you all of this. And it isn't organized by zones like the others. In other words, you get access to the entire planet. Also, downloaded maps remain on the device even after the subscription ends. You simply lose the updates and advanced features.
So, who actually gets the prize medal?
I'd say it's a tie between Orca and OpenCPN.
2 medals, please. Yes, 2 medals if you would.
OpenCPN is a great option for those of us who like to tinker, because besides its price, and even the fact that you can get it for free on many devices, it has a plugin ecosystem that's very focused on reusing all the electronics we already have on board. It lets you use charts from many sources, including open options like OpenCMaps. And if you need more professional charting, you have Orca charts, which are affordable and, above all, very reliable because they are exactly the official information. However, if you do not want to make your life more complicated, Orca has built a powerful functional navigation app from scratch starting at 0 euros. By avoiding the traditional division of the globe into sailing regions, it becomes especially appealing even in its paid versions, particularly for long-distance sailors who cross multiple areas. Its interface is very powerful and easy to use, and the integration of instruments, along with sail route calculation, including the boat's polars, seems to me like a distinctive feature that is very well implemented and extremely simple to use. For me, it would be a perfect choice both for the budget-minded sailor who does coastal cruising and for someone aiming to sail around the world across multiple zones and have them all available under a single subscription. I only see 2 areas for improvement that, honestly, I don't think would be difficult to address. The first would be to open up to other data sources besides Orca Core. This would generally make it easier for many tech-savvy boaters like us, who have electronics from different generations and manufacturers, to adopt it, and we would also be happy to collaborate by contributing data from our depth sounders to enrich the bathymetry and improve your charts to levels comparable to Navionics. It would be enough for me to be able to update my own charts as I travel with my boat, the way Navionics does with Sonar Chart Live, because that is the other point, bathymetry and the level of detail in the charts, which, as of today, is the only real advantage Navionics still has over the others. It is the clearest, the most detailed, and the easiest to interpret, featuring real depth data that has been collected by thousands of users who have been sailing all over the world for years. And what exactly should everyone else do? Personally, I'm facing a bit of a dilemma. I truly want to stop using Navionics, but their competitors' bathymetry still needs to continue improving. How do you see things? What would be the best option for you personally? You can tell us in the comments section so we can start a discussion. Thank you very much for your attention, sailors. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also click the bell to receive notifications. You can find all the links to the things that appear in the video, both in the video description and on our website, www.thelowcostsailor.com. We are very grateful to our main sponsor this year, Smart Sails, and of course to our Patreons, who will now appear on the screen and who are the ones who encourage us to keep making videos every day. In any case, we'll see you again in just a couple of weeks in a brand new episode of The Low Cost Sailor.
How is it that we reviewed 3 navigation apps, and yet you still didn't even manage to get any of the 3 to invite us out to dinner?
No, never. Nothing at all. A few of them didn't even bother to reply when you asked, would you give us a free subscription so we can try it? And the folks over at Navionics didn't do anything either.
That's how it is.